is up. Oh
All
yeah.
right.
Right now, everybody's so shocked. They're like, "Really?" And yes, really. You know what it is? This is what's called having to play through, because once again, life has changed the game, and we're coming at you. What's up, Corey?
Hey man, what's going on?
Harris is
How's it going?
slowly raising in volume here.
Slowly raising in volume.
It's Tuesday night. Nobody's expecting us on a Tuesday night. This is happening though.
Tuesday.
Many of our subscribers will wake up tomorrow and be like, "What? They had a live show?
They were on that late?
They were.
What were they doing?
These guys are nuts. They're out of it.
That might be true.
They're completely off their game, much like Lewis Hamilton.
Well, I don't know about that. But we
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
Woo! I'm gonna call it real early tonight. I'm gonna say
Real
10 seconds.
early.
10 seconds.
Just getting it going. Yeah,
Yep.
might as well.
5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, hey everybody, welcome. Hey, can I say hey? I guess I can say hey. Hello.
Say, hey.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
And welcome to Not Your Average Show with Corey and Mike. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you
Excellent.
for asking.
Everything is going really, really well here.
Everything is swell.
It's fantastic. I could no, okay.
As
Yeah.
I wink.
As you wink. All right, so here's the deal.
Yeah, cool.
Yes,
All
we're on Tuesday night because COVID has reared its ugly head again, and things have happened which have changed schedules for others that have been impacted, mostly me. Just saying. So unfortunately, because of daycare situations, I got to do the show for the next probably 2 weeks at night. So there's that. Just getting that right off the top of the bat.
It happens.
It happens. So here we are, and I said, you know what, Corey, let's just do it on Tuesday night because we're going to skip Wednesday and probably come back on Thursday, and then we got other stuff to get done here. So there's that. But we got a lot to talk to you about, but first I'm going to talk to my buddy Corey. Hey, Corey, what's going on, brother? What are you doing?
Hey, man. Good. Yeah, it's been a fairly decent day. We are getting our roof replaced. Not yet, but I had to get all the paperwork sorted out, notarized, paid, all that junk, and I did a lot of that today.
That's no fun.
So, yeah, man, we're all set for next week. I got some other stuff done. Yeah, it's been okay, but not perfect, but all right.
There you go. Just in case, so there is in our general area right now some severe thunderstorms. So,
that's true, yeah.
And in case we do leave, like the stream goes down because we get struck or something, everything is protected in this office, thankfully, and then Corey's location as well. But
yeah,
we can't control the connectivity because unfortunately the connectivity is not under our roof. We don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So just letting you guys know if there's any sudden darkness or anything else that happens, and we'll try to come back, but we'll see. We may or may not be able to. But there are some severe cells in the area. We do have some other stuff to talk about tonight, though. We didn't talk about what order we're really going to go in. So I guess we really want to just talk about Jeff and his achievements today, or
I think that's kind of like the biggest.
Yeah. All right. So you know what?
The most biggest news, impactful. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So this one's kind of more of an open discussion tonight because hey, we talked about it last week, and obviously, big thing was Virgin Galactic had their moment in the sun, and obviously, unless you lived under a rock today, somebody took off from this rock today and went specifically over the Kármán line, and that was I had to say it. Jeff Bezos and company with the oldest person to ever reach space, which was Wally. What's her last?
Wally Funk.
Wally Funk, and then some young 18-year-old kid, which was Oliver Damon.
Yep.
And then
Dutch guy,
and then Jeff Bezos and his brother, and they went into space, and it looks like they enjoyed themselves. However, I think it goes without saying you got beat because last week was Virgin Galactic, and they kind of stole a little bit of the thunder. So, what was your take on what happened today?
Yeah, so just general discussion. Yeah, I watched it live. It started at about 9 ish Eastern time. They everything that the Blue Origin was doing this morning was happening in West Texas. That's where their operation is set up. And if you guys are not following that, they made the New Shepard rocket. It's a rocket it's really made for space tourism. That's what Jeff Bezos is really making it for. He's been wanting to go to space since he was a kid. He's talked about it a bunch of times. Like many of us are interested in space. He's been interested his whole life. And finally got his chance to do it. I think this thing has taken off like 16 times. It's actually taken up satellites and projects for NASA and some other projects before.
Right.
But this was the first manned as we'll call it, a mission. And yeah, as you said, 4 of them went up. The
Four of them
oldest
came back.
oldest to ever go up into space, and technically the youngest. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool in and of itself. As you guys know, on the last show, we were keeping a close eye on it, hoping everything went well. And actually, I saw Elon Musk tweeted earlier and hoped that they had a good flight. And yeah, everything went well. There was a standard holds, built-in holds that seemed to be, it didn't seem like anything really was out of place.
Nope.
And it took off fine and came back fine as well.
Much to the chagrin of those who were petitioning for it to not do that, because there were some that wanted Jeff Bezos to stay in space. So that's let's put that out there. And look, this is the official Rich Billionaires Club now has a new delivery system. So if you weren't booked on Virgin Galactic in the not too recent days ago, now you have another competitor to jump on, Blue Origin and the New Shepard. I did notice, and it goes without saying, and the reason why we did put in the title is Kármán line was mentioned quite a few times during this entire setup. I mean, they did make it a very specific point to make it known that, hey, we broke the Kármán line, which, like I said, man, I'm not really sure that's important, but what was your feelings on it?
Yeah, there's been, if you follow the space news about these 2 launches recently, there's been some back and forth on whether Richard Branson actually went to space,
right?
And if you kind of dig into like where is the line that delineates space, you could kind of say, well, okay, technically space is an arbitrary boundary. One thing you might want to know is, where does sovereign airspace end, and then where does like international space begin? Because at that point, international space is no one owns that, and every country's agreed you can explore there, right? But obviously below that, sovereign airspace, that's a no, right? People don't like you flying in their airspace if they don't want you there. So some countries will say 50 miles, some countries will say 63 miles. 63 miles. And basically, if we're talking meters or kilometers, we're talking 100 kilometers for different ones. And so the long and the short of it is these are both really amazing achievements.
Sure.
And if you are in the crowd that has the disposable income that you wanted to go to space, just pick your poison, as it would be, as the saying would go, right? If you want to go up on Virgin Galactic with a bit of a different launch and vehicle, go do that, right? If you want to go up on traditional, rocket goes up, rocket comes down.
Try
Jeff
that
Bezos
too,
right? Jeff Bezos has got it for you there.
So I think the longer ride though is actually Virgin Galactic. You get a much longer ride, and I think might be even a little bit more thrilling in the sense that you do get that drop and that that shot and then the curve up. However, you do spend more time, I guess, technically in 0G in the Blue Origin situation. But the thing that the young lady that was hosting the Blue Origin event, right, and their online commentator, right, she was really pushing the fact that, well, we're taking, we're open for business now to take passengers to space. And I was like, all right, second cringy thought that I had at that moment was, because you kind of don't have any other business right now, you really need to take millionaires' money and get people into space. You do need to make some money with these things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they don't have the contracts they wanted to have, as far as we are aware, right? We don't obviously know everything they're doing. But like I said, I do know they took up some smaller projects for science projects otherwise. But other than that, yeah, obviously, we could probably be assured, even though those contracts, as far as we know, didn't go through, that Jeff has got other things up his sleeve.
Sure, I imagine.
So, but yeah. Other than that, you're talking about the presentation. Yeah, we were told multiple times, and
Yeah,
I mean
a
a
few,
lot of
a lot of
times,
times. Kármán line.
that we're gonna today, Jeff and the crew, they're gonna pass the Kármán line, the internationally recognized line for space. And I get it because technically people said Richard didn't pass, and now we want to be sure Blue Origin, Jeff passes. I get it.
So
it's fine.
here's the other thing though, right? If you get on Blue Origin's, if you get on Blue Origin's rocket, it's a self-guided machine. There's really look, it's got beautiful windows. I'm sure it's a wonderful trip, not knocking it. But the pilot in me looks at the Virgin Galactic solution and goes, I'd rather be on that one.
That's a space plane.
It's a space plane, and
right?
look, Blue Origin just basically made a small rocket that can carry passengers. First of all, let's just get off on the part about Virgin Galactic already having the largest aircraft known to man that actually delivers you to altitude to start the process, right?
Pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool and technical achievements. And that's really not to take anything away from Blue Origin, but
of course,
the pilot side of me goes, I'd rather be in the other one. I'm sorry, I'm just that type of guy. So.
And actually, my last thought on that too was to know that these people, all the people on Blue Origin and the passengers on Virgin Galactic, they're all going to be eligible for their space wings, technically astronaut wings. And I was just looking at some stuff earlier today, and there's some discussion now if this is going to be a thing, space tourism, then some of the powers that would be are contemplating making different versions of astronaut wings. Basically for those that are pilots pilot wings, astronaut wings, and then those that are passenger wings. And not to say that neither one of those would be an amazing achievement, right? Either way, but if you had suborbital pilot wings, that's pretty cool. And I will say I've in the past, when my previous job, we were on the Space Coast, and there were some operators around that had claimed they were making a business for suborbital cargo transport.
Yeah.
And I looked into them and was trying to get in there, and that didn't work out because they actually changed what they were doing. But anyway, the point was I would love to have my astronaut wings, but that's let's say that ship, even though it's a ship and not a plane, that plane's probably sailed.
Okay, wait. I'm going to coin something here though. Before you go any further, right?
Yep.
I have to say this because it just came to me. They don't need two categories of astronaut. They just need astronaut, which is those who go into space for work. If you go into space and your actual job is to be in space and do scientific studies, steer the aircraft, deploy, a solar array or work some sort of mega, looking device, whatever, great. Like a Hubble telescope, awesome. If you're not, you're a pastronaut. That's it. Okay, that's it. You're a pastronaut. You didn't actually go up there to actually do work, so you're just a pastronaut. You sat in the seat. You're almost like checked baggage. You just got delivered up there and then taken back down, and you really didn't contribute to anything else in space.
I'm just saying, I know people are already talking that there might be different categories. Like, did you orbit? Because honestly, I will admit too, when I was a kid and I thought astronauts, I associated astronauts with people who go into orbit.
Right.
That's just the way I saw it as a kid. I didn't know any different about Kármán line or whatever. And so anyway, there's some talk now that if space tourism is going to be a thing, then depending how many people obviously are going to go up or not, how often these launches are, what kind of launch cadence we're actually going to have with these space tourism launches.
Don't know.
Are they just there's thinking that maybe there would be different subcategories of wings.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, look, I'm going to coin pastronaut. It's mine now. It's on Ethernet.
All right. Pastronaut.
Right. It's pastronaut is mine. I'm going to get t-shirts made for everybody that went and said, I was a pastronaut and I broke the Kármán line, whatever.
What, Blue Origin, Flight 1 or whatever.
Yeah, right. And so I'm going to retitle this video to Pastronauts Make It to Space on a Blue Origin Rocket. And hopefully everybody gets angry at me. I don't care. Really, honestly, it's just something that I think is going to be mine. I just created it, and I haven't seen it anyplace else. So there you go. Hey, and you know what's even better? Like, subscribe, follow. We have lots more to come on this episode. And I see a great comment in there, and we're going to talk about Lilium here in a minute because there's a comment from David Cummings that says that they're going to be profitable by 2035. And we're going to have to check that out because we're going to look at another flying car, which is the Xpeng. Wait, which is it? Xpeng. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to look at that one. That's going to be later on in the episode. So stick around and we'll throw some comments at that one. All right. So next, after that, in in racing news. Now, this one is one that I chose for today's episode because I said to Corey, look, I'm a little upset about something, and this happened to happen over the weekend. If you guys are big Formula One or racing fans, maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't. But the contender, Lewis Hamilton, and the leader in the Formula One racing points, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, collided at the British Grand Prix. And I'm a little annoyed because this is basically what was said. They're calling Lewis Hamilton dangerous. And at this point, he got a 10-second penalty because there was an entry into one of the fastest corners in all of Formula One, and there was a little bit of room to the right. And guess what? Lewis drove it in there. He made a move. There was a touch, and Verstappen went, well, sailing off into the kitty litter.
And off to the hospital.
Yeah, and to the hospital. Okay, and
I mean, he wasn't seriously injured, but yeah.
No, he wasn't seriously injured.
Which is standard procedure to get checked out. So
yeah, standard procedure. But the difference is, okay, when you're trying to overtake and you stick your wheel below somebody else, and then you know that that's going to be a hairy situation, and you don't really come back into the course. That's one thing, and we're gonna play this for everybody to take a look. Yeah. This is via Twitter. Okay, so we're just gonna play it from the Formula One website itself. So here you guys go. Hold on a second. A little too loud. Here it goes. Okay, and you want to take a look at this collision right here.
Oh, and it was the merest of touches, but it was enough. And look how the wheel has come loose from
and Max goes in there hard. Okay, he goes in there really hard.
I said it wasn't over yet, didn't I, as they came out of left field.
And you see it from multiple angles. And the thing that I'm going to point to,
safety car,
there's a couple of things that I have to say about this. And that is, if you take a look at this particular incident, and then if you go back and actually watch the race footage, okay?
Could Hamilton have done anything to give Max Verstappen room there and avoid that crash? He was on the inside, of course.
Well, pay attention to this for a minute. Could he give him a room
to the right that Hamilton should have been finding?
I think so. All right, so here's the deal, right? Here's my take on this. If you go back and watch some of the race highlights from the remainder of the race, he went through that corner, made multiple passes, and he came in much further to the right, and he put his car right up against the inside of this curbing on the track. Okay,
yeah, the rumble strips. Yeah.
On the rumble strips, way farther to the right. But he had something very interesting to say because he really didn't acknowledge anything past that point. And he said there was a lot of anger after the shunt. And he blamed Verstappen, and he says, I don't feel he needs to be aggressive as he is. I would never back down from anyone. I would not be bullied into being less aggressive. Okay. All right. That's a little tone deaf when you actually put somebody into the wall so hard that you could have hurt the guy. Man, I don't know. To me, I thought maybe it's time for somebody to look at Lewis Hamilton and his driving techniques because that was a little dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to keep in mind when you're doing racing, that it's not a sprint race. You're trying to make the distance here. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think we shouldn't forget, which I had to ask Mike about, was what lap was this? And Mike, what lap was it?
It was the first lap.
It was the first lap. Right. Yeah. So that's a big thing to say is you try to not. I'm not a professional race car driver. We've done some driving, both of us. But I will say, you try to remember what's the big picture. The big picture is to make it to the end and give yourself opportunities as you see how the other drivers, where they're slow, where they're fast, where you can maybe make up time, where you can pass. Not on the first lap, dude. Like we gotta get this thing going, and for both of them to kind of commit to like that because I mean we know Max knew that Hamilton was there. I mean, come on.
He did. I mean,
he would have known he was there.
He would have known he was there. But I mean, at that point, it's the same thing, right? They're both going in so hard to that corner. I understand that's a racing incident to a degree.
Yeah.
But when you're the other guy and you realize you're stuffing the car down there on the inside on the first time you're going to that corner together and you're really being aggressive because that's one of your best opportunities. Hey, a little bit of caution. You knew what was going to happen if those tires touched. And here's the thing that Max said about it, right? Here's the thing. I'm glad I'm okay. Very disappointed with being taken out like this. The penalty does not help us and does not do justice to the dangerous move Lewis made on track. Watching the celebrations while still in hospital, disrespectful and unsportsmanlike behavior, but we move on. And I think he handled that pretty well like a champ. Just saying, okay?
Yeah. His comments are controlled. Yeah.
Yes. So. Better than I would have been because I mean I would have been off Twitter already. It would have been
of course you're going to be super angry. Yeah. I mean, if you guys don't follow racing, you know, when rubbing is racing, you might hear that phrase. But one thing to know is open wheel car rubbing is always a recipe for problems.
Mm-hmm.
There's all that suspension hanging out there, and you've got two rotating wheels just hanging out there in the breeze. When they touch stuff, they don't like to touch stuff.
No,
and stuff
not
breaks. And so, I mean, and let's also know that, you know, both of these guys are very competent and fast drivers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody's a rookie here, you know, so I guess that's, yeah, it's a bit I'd say for me, it's a bit disappointing to see these two guys do that on the first lap.
Especially, look,
and neither one of them to say, oh, it was me. It's like, no, it was that guy. And it's like, oh, that was that guy. Well, okay.
That's a good take on it. I mean, because yeah, you would hope that somebody would accept responsibility at that level, right? But it's difficult, and I can understand the frustrations on both sides. Okay, now here's the thing. A 10-second penalty, he comes back, and Hamilton still wins the race, and you know he's still behind Verstappen for the points lead. And I know we don't talk about Formula One here a lot, but for me, this was one of those events that if you pay any attention to racing, I just sat back and I was like, oh man, you just put a big dampener on whoever wins this thing. You're really going to have to wear this. I forget about the hollow victory on the British, you know, Grand Prix. It's a hollow victory. If Hamilton wins this entire thing, that's pretty hollow to me as a championship, because I believe this one brings him past Schumacher and a couple other names in racing. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. Hey, like, subscribe, follow. That was my shot at giving you some Formula One information. And if you like what I have to say, let us know in the comments below. And if you don't like what I have to say, keep it to yourself.
Yep. Wow.
No, I'm kidding. Let me know in the comments below, because it would be interesting to hear what people have to say, and really good to get some interaction on what people feel about what happened in that race.
Yep.
So David had another comment.
Yeah. Let's talk about that one.
All right, so do you guys think if Blue Origin or SpaceX will ever go public? I don't know what advantage right now they have towards going public. That would be my biggest question. Do they really have an advantage towards going public? Because right now he doesn't. I mean, he can do what he wants with his own rockets, SpaceX, obviously with Elon, and especially with his putting his own satellites into space. He's his own customer for Starlink.
Yes.
Right. So that's my thoughts right there. I don't know.
That's kind of where I was going with it as well. I mean, with what we think Elon wants to do with SpaceX, it doesn't appear he's trying to do rideshare stuff, right? He's trying to get to Mars, and in the short term, he's trying to put satellites into orbit that are of his own making for the satellite constellation for Starlink. Looking and knowing Elon, and I don't know Elon, but knowing what Elon seems to be doing, right? He likes to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And we will recall very briefly comments he made on the internet multiple times and then got in trouble for it later. And we know that there was some back and forth between him and the board.
That's
making those comments.
That's right. You're so correct.
I'm sure he didn't like that. So my thought is, at least for now, that's my guess, I'm thinking no.
But what about Blue Origin then?
That's kind of where I was thinking earlier when I said, okay, Blue just made their flight today. Everything went great. We know it's a space tourism thing, but we also know he's got other wishes for it, right? With government contracts, and also actually, competing with SpaceX for deeper space stuff. I don't know, to be honest.
But here's the thing. But now that Jeff Bezos has actually said that he's going to leave Amazon and he's focusing his attention on Blue Origin, he's a strategic guy, right? He's obviously going to play his cards very close to his chest right now, because he realizes that he actually launched the first, rock over the wall at Tesla, saying, hey, how did they get this contract to be the next lander, right?
Yep.
Also, the fact that SpaceX is working on their Starship, which means that they're already going one size XXL over anything that Blue Origin really has operational, and they're getting to the point where it's operational. So I wonder if he sees that as a point where he has to salvage the business and bring it maybe to the point where he could bring it public. Because for Jeff to make that move, he's got to have a vested interest in what he wants to do in the future. I think Blue Origin could go public, and I think SpaceX doesn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know why I can't remember, but the name escapes me. Not New Shepard's their small one, but they're New Glen, right? New Glen, that's their big one.
That's but it's not operational
that's
yet.
No. Yeah, that's their big one. But yeah, and that's what they're trying to win some contracts for, I'm sure. If you've seen some behind the scenes stuff for their testing and development for New Glen, it's pretty exciting as well. It's also on the Space Coast in a giant blue building, as it would be, right? And they just need some. We hope to see some actual testing happen.
That would be nice.
And I think that would help Jeff's, or rather Blue Origin's prospects to secure maybe some of these contracts.
Sure.
Other than things we don't know that happens behind closed doors, because for say what you want about Tesla's testing, or not Tesla,
SpaceX.
Say what you want about SpaceX's testing, how stuff blows up and all that, but they're really into rapid prototyping, and because they do such a thing, and they tend to lose stuff, but it's very public. It's a very public thing. And by being public, though, again, it's kind of like other people said: positive press, bad press. You're still in the press. People are talking about you, and there's a lot of that with SpaceX, right?
That's almost P.T. Barnum-esque, though, because it's any good news is any bad news is good news,
and when they have successes, it's in the news like even more. And
no, understood. I get that. Well, look, I mean, and I say P.T. Barnum because P.T. Barnum, famously P.T. Barnum and Bailey Circus, right? His big claim to fame was the egress, right? And they told everybody, hey, come to my show and see the egress. Well, at the time, egress was just another big word for the exit. But let's face it, an exploding rocket with nobody on board, to me, is a fantastic sight. I hate to say it, right? Because to me, it's almost like watching a car race for the accidents, and I get that there's a group of people out there that's what they enjoy, but my point is, hey, if you're going back to the original part of it, that's part of the showmanship of getting to space, and I agree with you 100%. So okay, so we got more to talk about. Let's move into, because Corey's gonna actually bring up Tesla, and then we can address the next question from David, because we did actually talk about it on yesterday's episode. So Corey's gonna take the floor here and talk to you about some other plans that Tesla has now for what we talked about just a couple of days ago.
Yep. So David, we see your comments. Let me talk about this real quick, and then we'll get to that too.
There you
go. So yeah, this next one comes from Electrek. It's basically Elon confirms Tesla's plan to open the Supercharger network to other automakers, and this we've also been following this kind of a little bit as well. There was some reports that Elon had said, or rather not Elon said, but some meetings out of actually Norway, about how they were looking to maybe open up Superchargers to some of the automakers in Norway and some of the cars there. And actually, we've been keeping track of it, and just found this one as well that basically says Elon, and actually I'll bring up the tweet here. He's basically saying, we made our connector as there was no standard back then, and Tesla was only a maker of long-range vehicles. It's a fairly slim connector and both low and high power charging. That said, we're making the Supercharger network open to other EVs later this year. That was 4 hours ago. He tweeted this from right now.
Cool.
So that's basic confirmation of that. There was some, again, some speculation. It might be just select markets. So that's a no. And actually, just another thing, just to let you guys know, he also answered somebody else's question. They asked, what countries? Is it just going to be, a little more about it? And he said just 4 words: over time, all countries. So there you go. And Mike and I were talking. Yeah, Mike and I were talking about it just before we went live, and we're like, okay, one of the major advantages of having a Tesla was you had access to a supercharge network, which was going in everywhere, strategic locations along highways. It's really useful. They had their own proprietary plug, right? So it was like, bam, you buy a Tesla, you got access to the supercharge network for a fee, of course, but basically you got it all set. And now it's kind of like genius in a way, right? He's going to allow other automakers to share the cost of operating these and putting them in, and then be able to have an adapter. Of course, you need an adapter for your non-Tesla EV, and bam, now at some point you'll have access to the Supercharger network. My only thing for me, because I am a Tesla owner, thing for me is to say, I hope I don't need to go somewhere and have to be behind a huge line of EVs at some charger somewhere that's in a central location. Because
no, I imagine he's going to have
that's
some
my
that are
only
going to be
thing.
exclusive.
That's my only thing.
I would imagine. So, but here's the thing, right? I made the comment just before the show. It's like McDonald's. It was about the real estate, right? And Elon Musk is all about the infrastructure. And as he builds up the infrastructure, just like you said, he is slowly building up an infrastructure to build the supercharging network across the country, and he's doing it with cars. But you could almost turn around and say that Tesla could drop out of the car manufacturing business at some point and just stay in the supercharger business, go into the restaurant business, and have the best Wawa/supercharge network in the country, and he's gonna make a dime off of that, and nobody saw it coming, right?
I don't know if you're saying that on purpose, but he's talked about doing food restaurants at the charger.
No, I know. Yeah, no, and we talked about we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the difference is that that's the type of genius where you turn around and you say, look, he's not only building one market, he's building multiple markets, and he's not even going vertical, he's going horizontal across each at this point. But when he assembles them into one, he's literally playing so far ahead of every competitor at this point. You got to admire it. But then you have to talk about the early adapters that we discussed yesterday, which is obviously you. That's in the pool of people that are getting screwed, kind of. First, and I say this to answer David's question, which if you want to bring it up, and then you go ahead and we'll talk about it.
Yep. So just read it. So David is asking, do you guys think Tesla screwed over their early full self-driving customers by offering a subscription plan, and then also would allowing early adopters to have full self-driving apart from their account forever be a solution? Okay, so
did they screw them? Yes.
We talked about this in our show just yesterday.
Yeah.
And because like I said, I had a Model 3, and we went over it, and I brought up the official Tesla blog post from October 2016. I don't know the date, but it's October 2016, that basically says, like, literally quotes, all the cars that are going to be made from now, including the Model 3, will have all the hardware necessary for full self-driving. End quote. And that's not the case.
There was another comment. Actually, there was a comment on the video yesterday, by the way, that someone passed by and said, I don't think it was ever promised. And I was like, I don't know. There was one other comment there. We have to go back and look, because we look at the comments a little differently sometimes. So go ahead, continue.
Yeah, and just kind of answering his question too. So do you think they screwed him over? To some level, yes, because while I myself didn't buy the car with the intent to just want to sit back and never drive again, to have the car drive me everywhere. That's just not me. I like some of the enhanced enhanced autopilot's features, but I just don't want to sit there and do nothing. I know some people that definitely do. So that was me. So I'm not quite in that boat. But at the same time, David, I'll tell you, when full self-driving is out and it works and everything is functional, now that there's a subscription, I was enticed to say, because I have enhanced full self-driving, it would be $100 a month if I'm not mistaken for me. I was enticed to say I'd pay $100 a month to try it out for a month.
Yeah,
sure, but and then I don't want to pay $100 a month, knowing I would also need to pay $1,500 for the hardware install.
And that's when I came up with the solution.
Just try full self-driving for $100 a month. And then I said, okay, fair enough. But then Mike said something. So what was that?
No, then I said that they should divest the cost over. You should make a couple of installment payments to pay for half the equipment. And then at that point, they give you another 3-month trial where you kind of say, okay, we're going to take $700, cash upfront. You can get the upgraded equipment so you can see the future self-driving. And then we'll kind of meet you in the middle there, because we'll eat the other half of that cost, and then we'll put you on a 3-month trial for like $1.99 each, right?
And then I brought something up too, which was huge.
Yeah.
I said, and David, you might have something to say about this too. I said, okay, now that this is a thing, and let's say full self-driving comes to fruition in hardware 3 or hardware 4, whatever it might be. Hardware 3, they say can do it, but okay, great, all right, awesome. If I ever decided to sell my car for whatever reason,
I forgot.
I have to. I should tell the person I'm selling it to that it doesn't have the hardware necessary for full self-driving. And likewise, the person buying it hopefully would be informed enough to know to ask used Tesla owners, does your car have hardware version 3? Because I might want to use full self-driving as a subscription.
And that's where
and
you
I'll
got
have to
screwed the
say,
most.
no, it doesn't. You're going to have to pay $1,500 to get it upgraded, and that's on you because so that's
where
the other
you got
thing, is
screwed the
it
most,
has
though.
it has an underlying thing that people might not be thinking about when they go to buy a Tesla. Oh, hey, you got a Tesla for sale? Oh, sweet, I want to buy it because
Nope.
it's got full self-driving.
Nope.
And then it's going to be like, actually, no, it doesn't.
I don't want yours. I want somebody else's. And that's where you got screwed the most. Absolutely. For sure.
So there's that, David. If yeah, so that was one thing that is something to definitely think about now.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So hey, but at least at this point, look, you got to honor the effort that he's putting into what he wants to grow for the electric universe of EVs, right? Tesla's putting a big investment out there. I understand what's at stake, but I don't think people see the genius. And if I was going to say anything at this point, the biggest thing that I would invest in out of anywhere would be wire. All this EV, copper and wire, and just physically, there's going to be such a demand for wiring and circuit board printing and those type of materials that it's just going to even get greater and greater, because you're talking about changing over the major part of infrastructure of vehicles, the other stuff. And man, I would say that's another place to look for people. So hey, great take on it, David. We got more to talk about in that conversation, but Elon Musk is. But now here's the other thing. Well, you know what? Before we close that out, if you had to pay another subscription fee so that you could have exclusivity at a supercharge station, would that piss you off even more? Because I think I would be irritated to the point where I would walk away from a Tesla brand if I had to go through those hoops in order to maintain my exclusivity.
I guess it depends on scarcity. I guess that would be my answer, right?
Okay,
If there is plenty of supply, and I mean plenty of chargers, wherever I happen to be going or live, right? Wherever I happen to be operating my vehicle, if I can always roll up to the supercharger and have no problem getting a pump. And actually, I'll tell you, it's a similar example, right? I was just on travel somewhere out west, and in this town we were at, we were going to go out of town on a little trip for the day, and I had to go to 2 freaking gas stations because I couldn't find a pump open because it was so freaking busy.
Yeah.
And it's great for that town that they got people visiting, but I couldn't fit the freaking Jeep we'd borrowed into any stall anywhere because there's people everywhere and there's RVs and crap. And I get it, you got to fill up, and that's good for the town, but it kind of triggered me a little bit, and I didn't expect that because I've never had that problem in that town before. And so, but going back to your question though, would I pay a
fee, or would you?
Let's call it a premium or whatever, however they decided.
Right.
I mean, if it was subscription based, maybe, because then I'd have the option.
No.
Hey, listen for a second.
No.
Hey, shut up. Listen for a second, dude. If I had if I was going on a trip, then I could be assured I would have somewhere to charge. At my house, I can charge for free. So no, I wouldn't. I would never pay it if I'm not going anywhere. And
okay,
but I mean, why would I? I charge at my house. I never need to charge when I'm out because my gas station's in my garage. So,
here's my point. Here's my point, right? So the point is that if they made a system that was smart enough, and I do mean smart enough, which knew exactly when you were going to arrive at the charging station, so that they do, which they do, right? They know you're going to arrive. They know that they should keep that slot open for you, but you had to pay for the scheduling service. I would be pissed off, number one. But you mentioned at the very onset, it was scarcity that was the most important thing. But now let's say that, look, we know that they're developing the network to fall in line with where the most rational place for you to stop would be, which means they're already going to be on some level of scarcity on the onset, because you're talking about so many different manufacturers bringing cars to the marketplace that they're going to flood the Tesla supercharger stations. And for him to make this announcement now, very critical, because he's doing it before people have really gotten into the idea of thinking about what they're going to purchase and what that means for their next purchase and how they're going to refuel it on long distance journeys. So I get where you're going, and no, I'm not going to shut up, because I think that that's a point to be made.
I was giving you a hard time, man.
I know you are, because a little light bulb went off in my head. I was like, you know what? He's sending this up way too soon, and he's making a lot of other EV owners just salivated, saying, well, I bought the Ford F-150 Lightning, but now I can charge it at Superchargers. right?
Yep. I'll get an adapter and everything will be great.
Yep, that'll be great. And then the normal Tesla guys are gonna be pissed. So hey, that's the way it goes.
I can certainly see that though.
Yeah.
There's make no qualms about it. Tesla owners would be pissed.
Absolutely. And you know who would be pissed? You guys, for missing another episode of intriguing conversation about. Interesting.
Oh, literally no data. Well, now it's back.
Now it's back. Okay, excellent connection. All right, so this is what happens. I don't know how much of that is going to make it onto the air, but we just had a full-on stream drop. Don't know if you guys got the ring the bell comment towards the end, but hey, this is what happens when there's thunderstorms in the area. So we lost the stream, but it came back on and made itself healthy. So there's that. I don't know how much we lost.
I don't know.
So if you haven't got a chance, remember, like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, and you guys will be able to hear everything that we have to say. And then you have to remember to tell me how to say this thing again.
Xiaopeng.
Xiaopeng. Okay, everyone Xiaopeng tonight.
We're gonna hope that's right. We're trying really hard. People. So.
All right, here's where we're gonna go with this one. Xiaopeng shares footage of its new X2 electric flying car, aka big old ass drone. So this is what it looks like here. There's really not much more than Xpeng Motors in China says that their X2 is being called the 5th generation flying car. And they basically introduced this thing. They've raised $1.5 billion since 2018. They've launched a couple of EVs. They've got a couple other cars on their websites. It looks like they got everything up and coming. It's all very promising. The thing looks pretty decent. I wouldn't call it a flying car necessarily because it's basically just a big old drone. However, they did release video footage. And in this video footage, they do, well, it looks cool. I mean, here, we'll just go ahead and we'll play this for you guys.
Video footage?
Yep. Oh, there we go.
Is that a single seater? I didn't realize a single seater.
So right now it looks like
is that what that is?
That's their prototype with their autonomous abilities.
Yeah. I must have missed that.
All right. Here it is in the nice hangar that they have.
Okay, yeah. Okay, it is a single currently, yeah.
They got some nice dihedral tipped looking blades.
Yeah.
What they make a critical error here.
Do you know the date on that video?
No, there's no date. There's literally no data. I tried to find some other stuff on it right now, and it was very difficult to find.
Yeah.
So you'll notice there's a lack of controls.
Yeah. But just one straight iPad? That's it?
Yep. Big iPad.
Helicopter skids.
Lots of touch screen, right?
Yeah.
Now here's let me see if they show this actual part in the video, which so far I'm just seeing really not a lot that I can say is doable. I mean, it's just basically a big drone with a seat on it.
Hmm.
So where's the part where they fly it through the hangar? That made me laugh. Let me see if I can find this part. If it's coming up,
I
real
haven't
quick.
seen that yet either.
They literally they were flying it through the hangar doors here. Hold on.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Oh, here it is. Here's the best part.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm a little behind. Yeah.
Yep. So they take this thing off in the hangar. They have the other car in the background, which looks pretty cool. I guess that's pretty neat. I can tell you how frowned upon it is to fly anything in a hangar.
Very, extremely.
Very. And then there was another video of it at another place where you can see he's actually blowing the cover off the car below it. Which is kind of
there you go. He's flying over cars.
Right?
Parked cars.
So here's the thing. It's at this level. What is this thing really?
It might be their own. I mean, it might be because it's Xpeng Motors. They have a motors company, so maybe it's their own property still.
Don't know.
I don't know.
So here's the thing, right? Everybody's hot into the flying car market, right? Everybody wants to jump in, and we noticed that there was Ehang a couple weeks ago. He said basically this is still just an overgrown drone. It's automated, great, but the difference is that people don't realize what they're getting themselves into when they see what's called basically or being dubbed a flying car. Okay, this is just a big drone with a seat on it. I don't really see anything to be excited about. It's an announcement, but I don't know. What's your feelings, man?
I mean, it's you brought up the Ehang thing, and I know one thing we said about Ehang, which I think applies. I'm just gonna guess, but it still applies here. Is I think what their aim for is gonna be shorter hops, intercity, like within the same city. Because if I'm looking at this right, it says supposedly 35 minutes of flight time, maximum speed of 80 miles per hour. It's looking like a short hop thing,
Right.
and if they get 2 seats on there, then they have a little more versatility to actually do air taxi in the city stuff.
Right.
And that seemed to be the aim of EHang's. I think it's the EH216, if I'm not mistaken, which is their shorter range vehicle as well. And I think that they're probably going after the same kind of use case.
Right. Yeah, I understood.
So maybe it's going to work for them with what they're trying to do.
I have my doubts. I have my big doubts.
Know.
Okay, I really do. Because look, this marketplace is going to flood quickly with everybody jumping in and calling everything that's got blades on it a flying car. Okay, and the fact of the matter is that they're going to have to deliver at some point the ability for this thing to take a novice, a complete and total novice, sit in your button seat, move you 25 minutes of duration without falling on top of, say, your neighbor or in the middle of a highway, and get you there safely. And then have all the regulatory authorities behind you to say that, yes, this is really what you can sell to people. Okay. There isn't What?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. I was just going to say, I was just going to say, did you see that apparently this has an ejection parachute?
Well, it's fantastic because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. I'm just saying, if you're flying at, 400, 500 feet, parachute probably ain't going to do any good. You're probably too low to.
You're probably too low. Unless look, the nice part is if the canopy blows off of this thing and you shoot straight up, it's going to give you enough of altitude to. And I know that they do have self-deploying parachutes.
Yes.
Now the thing is, it better blow you far enough that you don't get blendered by the thing when you come back down. Because this one, I'm taking a hard stance on this one. This is nothing more than an overgrown drone. It really doesn't.
It does look like one.
It doesn't have anything to really base itself on the fact that this should be getting a lot of attention for people to be serious about investment potential. Because right now, if you're looking at other competitors, Joby, Lilium, everybody else that's out there in the marketplace, Jetupterra, people that are out there making true innovation, this is not truly innovative.
Yeah, even the EHang, even the EHang we talked about a few times. If you go to the website, it has actually a lot of information about all the infrastructure backing it up. And I mean, like the ground-based observations, the people that are going to be there, observing the flight. It talks about how it will deal with failures on board the system. It seems more thought out. And maybe it's just because we don't have enough information, but I'm going to go with you, Mike, too. This one doesn't look as viable as even EHang's does.
No, because EHang, and look, and we could take the old Tesla model and apply it to EHang right now and say, look, we're not seeing the genius in EHang either because their infrastructure is going to be such the part of they're going to grow their infrastructure so clearly that everybody else is going to be playing catch up. It could happen. It's a lot of infrastructure. It takes a lot of dollars to do what they do in their position, right? I look at the more practical part of it, and like we've said it past, is other companies are going into this straight up propeller design. I think you have to be a game changer here. I think you have to be more like Jetupterra. I think you have to be in the position of changing the entire propulsion system, making it so that these things won't produce as much noise, so they won't be intrusive into the environment. There's so many other variables for these things to become absolutely successful.
Yeah.
But to basically have a hobbyist flying car that can go 35 minutes on a charge, great. You're basically you're a camera on your own DJI drone, except for now, if the thing crashes, you're just not losing a $700 drone. Better hope that parachute deploys.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Or am I being too harsh? Right? I could be. I could be being.
I mean, with what we have to read here about it, I think that works because we know we've addressed this more than once, a few times, of course, on some of the hang-ups and some of the hurdles and challenges to the eVTOL or VTOL air taxi market. And we talked about infrastructure backing it. We talked about how they're going to charge and do turnaround times. We talked about how they're going to handle IFR. We talked about general willingness of the public to even use them because remember that's certainly a big part. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And so, but I mean, I agree with you too. If you could have a design that addresses the big noise complaint, that addresses external rotating components, things that people would maybe get injured on accidentally, if you just take those totally out of the equation, I think it's a better solution.
Sure.
And
but here's
what
the other
we're
thing.
seeing, yeah. So
here's the other thing. They're saying this thing's undergone more than 10,000 test flights and is scheduled to be in test drives in China at the end of the year. Now, a test flight that we say 10,000 test flights, right? 10,000. All right. So here's the difference: 10,000 test flights, which would mean that this thing has divided by 365. Okay. Let's take 10,000 divided by 365, which is a year. How many times would this thing have to have flown every day in a year to reach that number of 10,000? Right? Well, let's do the math. And we're talking about 27 times, okay? So a day to reach that number. So let's even make it, let's say that it's been undergoing development for 4 years. You're still talking about an astronomical number that I don't even think mathematically takes place at a rate where people can even comprehend that it could be successful. Sorry, that's why I'm not buying it. Just me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's as we try to cover air taxis, we try to get as many details as we can, and I just don't have quite enough to. I mean, there's a lot of eyebrow raising things, like you said, the 10,000.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Right here. I don't.
But what does it say? Since then, X1. That's X1. The X1.
Yes, has undergone.
X1 has undergone 10,000 test flights and is scheduled to begin test drives in China. Blah blah.
10,000. Okay, so even in 4 years of development, even if it's a 4 years development, my math comes out at six flights a day, right? You got to have man hour. I mean, you got to have people really going into that thing.
It says, in addition to the P5 announcement at Shanghai Auto Show this year, Xpeng unveiled the 4th gen flying car called the X1, and that's the one you just talked about. 10,000 flights.
Right.
So let me just make sure I'm not saying this crazy. Yeah, this is July 16th. Yeah. So the Shanghai Auto Show is when the X1 was announced, and it's supposedly had 10,000 test flights. So either it's been in development for a long time, like Mike was saying, or I'm just not sure where these numbers are coming from. I mean,
because
if it hovers for 10 seconds and lands, I mean, it flew, but
sure,
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're just totally off our rocker and it's late at night. I don't have any clue, but
I don't think so. And David just threw out a comment. He goes, "Do you think Flyblade stock will be the next big thing in eVTOL space?" I'd actually have to do more research.
Blade?
Yeah. I'd have to do more research to see what because I know who they're partnering with, and I think it was Beta and somebody else that they're really getting themselves in bed with.
Yep.
And I would really have to see a little bit more because I'm skeptical, and I've started to say this over the last couple of weeks because of all these massive evaluations for companies that haven't flown anything yet. And that's really a tough place to get past, because when people get into small aircraft, and I say this genuinely, the general flying public is not ready to understand what it's like to fly below 10,000 feet on small aircraft going less than 100 knots. It can be a really uncomfortable experience. And if you're selling it as a high dollar one, there's a reason why you want to be going 200 knots in these things, because it smooths out that ride and makes it a lot more palatable when you're trying to get someplace, and especially at altitude. So,
I'm just refreshing me a little bit. Yeah, Blade, they had an S pack, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean,
we'll look at that. We'll you know what?
Yeah, we can revisit Blade. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's worthy of something that needs to be looked at, because it has its own one. Yeah, and I'm actually putting a note up there too. So Blade has their own. So that's the next one. But hey, I think that's all we got for you today. If we, I think late night is a little bit more controversial. I say things that are a little bit more. I'm a little bit more.
I will say here, while we're still alive, I'll say I apologize for my my outburst earlier.
What?
I don't know. Maybe it's just late and I'm just, I don't know, tired.
No, I don't care.
I'm
so hurt and offended, Corey. Wait.
You should be.
My thin skin. I can't take it.
But I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Anyhow,
it is what it is.
Look, it's getting. Look, here's what's going to happen, right? This is my feelings on it. Everyone is coming into two big spaces that we talk about with a lot of money right now, and that is electric vehicles and these air taxis. Okay, and they are hitting it with every dollar that they possibly can. And you have some of the biggest players like Ford, Hummer, which is GM. They're all positioning themselves right now to take a piece of that pie. This pie is going to be big. The difference is going to be how quick can you grow the market? Who's going to really make it, in there? And how people's passions are really going to play into what they're going to purchase, because A car is an individual purchase for some. It says something about them. It's an individual expression, just like you like Tesla, right? I will be hard pressed to get off naturally aspirated until I really feel like it's time, but that's just me. But everyone's going to be different. So it's all going to have its space, I think.
Yeah, and it's all linked together, like we've talked about. Just my last comment there, because it's all linked together. We talked about all these EV spaces, all this battery development for electric cars, and then let's look at the article we just looked at: electric vehicles that fly. I mean, they're all going to be interlinked. When somebody breaks through really, really dense battery technology, whether it's solid state or whatever we decide to go with, I mean, it's going to have impacts across multiple sectors. And if you guys are looking for something to invest in, I'd follow all these battery technologies close, because that's where it's going to be at. Because it's going to cross multiple, it's going to straddle multiple sectors. Whenever somebody really breaks that battery down, and it's like, and I'm not talking about Tesla's lithium extraction, the battery process. I mean, the next gen, like the revolutionary battery tech, whether it's going to fast charge, have a really long use case, many cycles.
So here's a couple that come off, top of my mind. Anyone that's going to go into aluminum recycling, that's going to become massive. Magnesium, okay, another ultralight material that people are going to be looking forward to having in these areas. So mining, right? Like principal mining, just getting into these other areas that, yes, we know that mines exist, but you're talking about doubling and tripling the output of what you need for batteries literally in the next 10 to 15 years, right? So that infrastructure there. I'm not kidding about copper. You're always going to need copper. It's going to be embedded in all these things, and even the companies are going to sprout out of like these copper reclaiming, processes that are going to be popular. Right. So, and then you're going to talk about, forget about salvage aircraft. They're going to be ripped apart. That are going to be put back together as EVs and EVTOLs. They're just incredible. So yeah, we're heading into a subscription economy. That's very, very true. I agree with that completely.
All these microtransactions and everything.
Even to tag on to the car conversation we had yesterday, if you go back and look at the video, like I said, that they're going to turn into the next version of phones, because it's going to be like, what hardware is on your phone, and are you paying for the Pro Max S version with this and chipset on board? Because if you don't, it's not going to be a good thing. And even the liquid cooling that you mentioned yesterday is going to play into a factor of how these things are cooled at the amount of work that they have to work at. So it's all one part of a huge conversation, but you got to, pick the bits out of the dirt. So that's what we're here for. That's why we're not average.
We're definitely not average.
We're definitely not average. We're trying to be above average, despite tongue in cheek. So, hey folks, thanks for your time. We've burned through our hour, and we appreciate everything you guys have brought to us. The subscription keeps growing. Everyone keeps, adding on. So we like that. We're going to chop up these episodes, and I think we're going to be back at it Thursday night, right?
Yeah. Thanks for all the support, shares, the subscribes. Remember that notification down there too. If you subscribe, thank you so much. But remember to hit that bell so actually can participate with us. David, thanks so much for all your stuff. And one more question.
Oh, you got one more question. Go ahead.
Do you think smart glasses are going to be the next paradigm shift, like the beeper was to the cell phone? So that's a whole thing, because we could talk about because smart glasses, I would probably go with that to say that's augmented reality rather than virtual reality, right? And so augmented reality probably is where, and there's already a lot of stuff actually going on in augmented reality, whether it's stuff that's been happening in training. Where, I know, for example, I participated in a study here at the local university where we were testing new equipment and new programs for training medics in the Army. And so we were running through a bunch of scenarios that were augmented reality, and so some of that stuff's already going on.
Sure.
Whenever it hits full mainstream commercial, for commercial use, that would be. I think part of it is people are wanting something that's small enough that it doesn't weigh a lot. Right. And then also basically looks like regular glasses, if we're talking about glasses, right? If these glasses I just have on my head now had some kind of display and battery, everything integrated, right?
Right.
And it could shoot things on my screen that were either just
onto
hovering,
retinas.
Information,
Right.
or augmented and augment, oh, geez, I mean I mean that'd be amazing.
All right, so I have a different take on this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Oculus Go, right?
Mhm.
Then this is the Quest, which is now the one that's proven that VR can break through, and that there's some
That's Quest 2.
Quest. No, that's the
Yeah.
original Quest, right?
Okay.
So, and then lastly, if you guys are really interested, but this is just what I have within my reach, just to give you an idea of what I think about where we're going. And then there's the DJI goggles, right?
That's
So,
the FPV.
Yeah, the
goggles.
FPVs, right? And then on top of it, if you look at what Apple's introducing to their entire lineup right now, is they've now put their LiDAR little sensors that are going in here, right? They're what I think that's what they're called, right? And so they're looking at this. Now the problem is well, I think it's the sensor that's on the new iPad. It's the little dark out sensor, and it's coming to the it's in this generation phones and so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So they can project the little dots like on the surfaces. So my thing is that you have to build the infrastructure before people can really use it, which means for augmented reality, you look at what Microsoft had already done with their augmented reality glasses, which really haven't made it into the marketplace yet.
Yeah, the HoloLens. Yeah.
Yeah, the HoloLens. So until you get a database that's structured enough that people can have useful information that can be projected in a manner that's meaningful, meaning that what would you want it for? Measuring distances, right? For other things like navigation experiences. I look for the military to give us what that experience is going to look like, and that means that where the military finds a place to put augmented reality into your ability to use it in your daily environment, right now it's just a distraction. Somebody's got to perfect it. They really have to manufacture something that's got to be absolutely and totally laser focused on giving you the amount of information without it being intrusive, but being intuitive enough that you could operate almost with your eyeball. Because if you're just speaking to another one of these verbal assistants to guide your glasses, the experience is going to be detached. It's not going to work well.
And again, having everything tied together, last thing I'll say is I was there a whole day testing this stuff, and guess how many times I had to change the batteries are out a whole bunch of times.
Sure, probably quite a few.
Right, and so it's everything's connected. But I mean, I'm done.
I mean, it is this is what people want. The latest and greatest technology. If you told me years ago you'd be Dick Tracy, you'd be able to talk on your watch and do all these things. Look at how long it took to actually take a watch like this and make it into the public that it could actually do most of the things that people really expect from a future-proof device. Took almost 25, well, actually, no, from the inception of Dick Tracy, but from the time that you really think about it, from my looking at it from a Dick Tracy movie, going 25, 30 years before we got one that actually worked well enough that you'd actually want to wear the damn thing. I think with smart glasses, you're still looking at probably another 5 to 7 years before one really comes out that's got a use case that people can actually use. Now, with that said, I think the first place it's going to show benefit is if you're flying in a vehicle that's a flying vehicle and you are basically an operator owner of that vehicle and it's some sort of EV toll. I think that's going to be the first place where those glasses will probably come in to be the most handy.
Yeah, imagine if you got into your private jet or whatever, and both the pilots put on their glasses or their headset or whatever, and everything they needed, all the information was projected.
Yep.
So you sit in the cockpit and there's only like bare minimum standby gauges. There's nothing else in there because everything's here.
And the best thing about traffic identification is literally when you talk about these EV tolls,
look and it's just you just see
look it. You're gonna see a little dot. It's gonna circle and it's gonna say, oh, that's
it's going to show you the direction, altitude, distance. I mean,
that's going to change the game. But the military has it. We don't. And until we see what's actually going on with it, we're not going to get the full experience. But there's my thoughts. All right, we got to go. It's late. So, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all the time and energy. David, thanks for all the great comments.
Thanks.
And if you haven't had a chance already, like, subscribe, follow, and hit the bell. And we'll see you guys real soon.
Yep.
And thank you, Harris Heller, for the music.
Have a great evening.